Hello, all of you delightful beings out there, and welcome to the stream. I am Razim, currently as Asher the Labramon. And this is DevTales, where we're going to be working on our SCAR system today, or Stories and Creatures in Alternate Realities. This system is available for open playtest on our Discord as well as on itch.io. So do take a look at it and let us know what you think. We very much welcome feedback. We are also joined here by Conrad. Once again, he's finally getting better from the illness that was stopping him for a while. And so, yeah, he's going to be doing a 3D model. It's actually Geeman's model that he's starting today. Which, by the way, Geeman, if you're listening, he says that he's hoping to get it done in 24 hours. He's kind of challenging himself. But anyways, I believe Tal has a presentation that I suppose we'll get into. Unless you want to wait for Era for that.
Well, Era said that he'd at least glance through it, and he didn't have any big notes for it, and we kind of need to get this out of the way anyway. The nice part is that I'll throw this in ScarDev. The nice thing is that I set it up so that way on the main two pages, I guess. Anything we change in the first three of the tables here will automatically propagate to everything else. So if we change numbers everywhere, we get to change them everywhere. And all the math automatically updates along with it.
All right.
Now, there are abbreviations to this. However, if you scroll over to the right slightly, there's a little, denoting thing for it.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that was already... Okay. I was setting up the notes document, and apparently I forgot that I had Raharu add something last night, so...
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've expanded out to there being 7 tiers, with... This is for armor. This is the armor page. Me for armor... For, 7 is kind of just a congratulations you win button kind of anyway in terms of armor levels. So I had it go between 25 to 50% better in every category. So for this, if I want to make it 50%, these two should be 5. Oh wait, I know why I didn't do that now. Because of this one down here. That makes sense. But yeah, so here's all the lights up top. The second table is all the mediums, and the third table is all the heavies. Below that, I went ahead and split it up into the various tiers, so that way you can look at everything for tier 2 armors, and it's all in one thing. But if, for example, I put, for the light tier 1, if I change up top physical negation up there to be a 5, on the bottom tables, it'll also auto-update. See how that's a 5 now?
I do.
And I change it back. It all auto-updates from these top 3 tables.
I am curious why.
Because if we change any of these numbers, do you really want to go and find the exact number again on a different table and to make sure that it always is the exact same?
Fair.
And I figured, considering what you did before with the SCAR system thing, that you'd break it up into various tiers, like you did in the original SCAR document. But when I was putting this together in order to see trends easier, I put it together where it's category first, and then all the tiers. inside of those categories. So this was kind of just for our ease of use in like every single way. Now, I kept the same general design of being able to specialize armor or keep it balanced. The way that I kind of went about it this time, considering we were more granular and I could do certain things, is generally speaking, I used the balanced as a basis, and I'd take about 50% of the stats out of the weak stat and put it into the strong stat. So, you know, for example, medium balanced tier 2 has 2 of each negation. 50% of that went into the strong one, so it then split into a 3 and 1 for medium physical and 1 and 3 for medium special.
It makes sense.
So that's about what I did for that. Durability, I just made it like, flat scaling. The durability numbers might be too large. I don't know right now. We agreed to change the skill penalty to be a difficulty increase instead.
Did Era say yes on that?
He gave an MK to me.
Okay.
When I messaged him about it.
Uh,
The non...
Okay, you're gonna explain it, so go ahead and then I'll ask.
Yep. The non-skilled penalty, that is the same where it's just subtracting dice from everything. Movement penalty is the same where that's the movement penalty of just reduce your movement speed by this much. And evasion penalty, again, just minuses your evasion. Minimum and maximum EXP works the same as how it did in weapons, but I really wasn't sure what traits and purchases we were really going to put on armor. So I kind of just, I made it the fuck up. I just kind of had it do
That's
scaling
fair.
of the minimum XP was like 5 times tier for the lights, 10 times tier for the mediums, and so on and so forth.
Well, I will say that the traits for weapons and armor are not just things that are built into the equipment, but also how you're able to use it. Like, some of them obviously are going to need a physical way to actually use it. Like, for example, reach. You're not going to be able to just suddenly, oh yeah, my short sword can reach all the way over there now. But, like,
I mean, I guess you can if you're playing in Bleach.
Wow, your arm is extremely long. But the one idea that I have for, like, an armor trait would be you can overcome some of the evasion penalty with XP investment.
Okay. So yeah, these numbers are fake right now anyway. I was just explaining the methodology behind why I chose these numbers. It was literally just as simple as for 1 through 6, it's 5, 10, then 20 per tier for light, medium, and heavy, and then double it for the max XP potential. And I just kind of chose numbers and went with a similar methodology to how we've been doing other things, and we can change these super easily. But
Okay.
So with all of that out of the way, the scaling methodology on the armors is pretty simple. I started out with the balanced. Light starts at 0 and scales at +1 negation every other. So, for the first 2 tiers, it's, just no negations, but it has extra soak to compensate, because otherwise the armor would be useless. Besides that, it would then just slowly start scaling negations. Medium balance started at 1 for the negations, and then got 1 every tier. And then heavy started at 2, and I gave it 2 every tier. Now, the reason for this is it gives us a nice linear scaling, and it's a lot easier to go from linear and balance it on a curve as compared to curving something to begin with and then having to try and balance it. Basically, this gives us a methodology for our starting point, and we can easily change it from here.
Okay.
But again, like the general methodology here was that I would work on the balanced first, and then for the specialized armors within that tier, I'd take about 50% of the negation off of one side and put it on the other. The weak from the strong. Weak to the strong, sorry.
Now, your plan for all of this, are you, as far as penalties go,
Yeah.
are you, is the non-skilled penalty the same as the skill, like, is it added on to the skill penalty? Like for medium, you got +1 difficulty, and then you also subtract 4 dice from the roll?
If you're not skilled, yeah.
Okay.
Because the way that it's working in my mind is that the skill penalty here is just kind of okay, so you're wearing the armor, and that is going to physically bog you down because you're wearing this weight of armor. And then the non-skill penalty is, are you skilled and trained in doing things in this armor? Because if you're just wearing stuff you don't know how to use, then you're taking a penalty on like everything for it that requires the use of the armor. So basically, the non-skill penalty is working the same as before. It's the skill penalty that changed, because it turns out that subtracting 1 dice and 3 dice kind of really didn't matter in any way.
I am wondering if, well, because in the end, like when you get to later in the game, that the more dice you have, like you kind of brought up for why we switched the skill penalty over, the change of difficulty or the reduction of dice really doesn't matter.
Yeah. But part of the rules for this that was stated in there is that this subtracts it from everything. This is effectively the equivalent of like exhaustion if you have to do something in the armor.
True, not just specific skills.
Yeah, so this would be on accuracy, on power. Like, this penalty really fucks with you if you're wearing armor you're not supposed to.
What I am wondering is maybe we should, for consistency, change it to also... It's also one of those, keep it simple kind of situations of changing it where it also... instead of just subtracting dice, it increases difficulty further. I do know that we have the maximum +2, -2. However, there is precedent with the blind condition where it can also... Like, while your difficulty cannot go above +2, it's... If you have, like, stab, if you're blind 3, it can negate your stab.
Yeah, so would this just be like a penalty for, like, basically everything, like +1 difficulty, for example, like while you're in the armor?
Yeah, we would still keep it where it is every role is suffering from this when you're wearing armor you're not skilled in. Because, like, even with, more social things, if you're trying to...
Idiot.
Yeah, if you're trying to intimidate somebody and you are clearly wearing that armor wrong because you have no idea how to wear it, yeah, you're not going to intimidate them.
Yeah. In that case, I guess 1 for light, 2 for medium, 3 for heavy. Just to make it scale.
Yeah, that works for me. Or alternatively, it's just the same across. Well, it would make more sense to have it be scaling up instead of just the same across the board. But having these two mechanics function the same, where they both are increasing difficulty, would be better for, Kiss.
Yeah, that's fair. By the way, this is part of the reason why I made it propagate all over the place, because otherwise I would have had to change everything in all of these 7 other tables too.
Fair point.
You mean you didn't want to do that and suffer miserably the entire time?
No. I already spent double digits amounts of hours working on this shit. I don't want to have to double work. Evasion penalty is still fine as a flat penalty along with the movement. Because the reason being is that, for example, 5 evasion penalty, that is unbelievably significant.
Oh yeah, that's my entire evasion.
Yeah. To note, excluding things like dodge action and specialties and all of that, that is half of a max level character or a max specialized character. That's half of their evasion. Because you can naturally get up to 10 without items and specialties. So I feel like the 135 still holds up pretty well as the movement penalty. Movement penalty could, maybe get changed at some point, but I don't really see a reason to right now.
I'm good with that being how it is, and like I said, we can always have some traits that you can purchase with XP to, counteract those penalties.
Yep. Now, before we move on to the next page here,
real quick,
there is one...
Guru, we actually have a D10 dot-based system for this, for Scar. So, you roll so many D10s, and if you, by default, get a 7 or above, it's a success.
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, hey, Eric.
Hi. Hey, Eric.
I didn't think you were
No
showing up.
worries.
Well, my voice came back a little bit, so...
Okay. Well, we're reviewing the armor and weapon math thing, and I basically just went over all of the stats. We're changing the non-skilled penalty to also be difficulty and making it go 1, 2, 3 for light, medium, heavy.
That sounds fine to me.
Yep. So there is one thing I was going to be bringing up here, Zib, which is, because we are actually going to be, heavily expanding out armor, we are going to, basically, with all of the things we've been adding, armor is looking, at least design-wise, more and more necessary for, characters.
You're definitely right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm okay with that. Considering the fact that, even if somebody doesn't want to be going around in, your standard leather armor or full plate, whatever, you can literally just be like, hey, storyteller, can I just have a necklace that gives these benefits?
Yep. Well, also, one thing I was going to point out, we literally headed this off beforehand by going, okay, so armor doesn't have to cosmetically show it all, but mechanically people can tell you're armored.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we headed it off. I just wanted that to be noted because it's important for design. Because we're kind of making armor more and more necessary, so.
To be fair, that's kind of the case in every tabletop.
Well, Yes, but it's a distinct change from how we've been doing things technically, so
Fair point.
I just wanted it noted because this is like, design stuff. I'm fine with it, we just need to make sure we're being cognizant of it. So with that, moving on to the next page, which is the ED page. And I'll explain this page
Oh god.
yeah. So, the most important bar is the column is the leftmost one, which is power, which I guess should be named total power on all of these. I didn't change the name on all of them. So what this is it is a mix of the user power right here, which is where I would estimate each character, because this is like, starting character, attribute 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And then we don't have a recommended thing for this. This is just 30 plus. So I kept it the same. This is my estimations at a character of this level. What about is going to be the user's power contribution towards a weapon? So for this, like, one from power, one from attribute, and then one from having, like, a skill in it. Because it's like, starting character shit. So on and so forth. This is me guesstimating what the user's contribution is based on a more average character for that level. All of this is the estimated damage based on the user power over here and the maximum power over here of each type of weapon. And then multiplied by, the success percent chance thing that I keep harping on about. The estimated value of a single dice at each difficulty. And then if you scroll over, you can see all of these, which is stats for weapons. Now, I basically just kind of had them mirror moves in terms of max power, because I figured that that's the best way to balance it, really, is make it so that way it's analogous, but they have different traits, which is basically what we agreed upon when making weapons the first time anyway, that we wanted it to be at an analogous power level, but have different options.
Yeah.
One marked difference is that starting weapons, technically speaking, have better max EXP potential than moves do. They have a little bit more.
Okay, run that by me again.
So the minimum is actually the exact amount of EXP that someone can have of that level of move, like for tier 1 stuff. So, a starting character can have 15 XP in a quick action move, which is, a light weapon, effectively. Can have 30 XP for a medium and 60 for a full, which is heavy. So, technically speaking, they have a little bit more. And the reasoning behind this is so that way, first of all, there is no guarantee that exactly at 10 attributes, the moment you get it, you will be able to pick up a new weapon. You probably should, but just in case there's, like, a small layover period, this is good design-wise. And it would let you do things like pick up traits like a versatile trait or something minor, where it just lets you change your damage type slightly.
That's fair.
So it helps you along, but it doesn't really break the chain of it. The minimum EXP potential is still equivalent to the maximum power in terms of XP. That way, no matter what, the minimum XP that a weapon can have, you will always be able to max out its power. That'd be a very bare bones weapon, but I think that's kind of important for design.
I agree.
The maximum EXP potential mostly just follows along with moves. Except for legendary, but we're ignoring tier 7 for most of this stuff.
Yeah.
The one design thing I did that I was very stubborn about is I made the minimum power for a tier 7 weapon be higher than the maximum power of tier 6. That's like the only He Who design thing I did with them.
Honestly, with when I actually put the legendary stuff in the book, I'm thinking I am probably just going to take the I think the best thing to do would probably just be take the minimum and maximum of tier 6 and bump it up by 1 and put in a plus. Leaves it more
That's
open for whatever the heck they want to do with it.
That is very fair.
Legendary's the point where you start throwing out the rules.
Yeah, I just wanted to like napkin math it, being like, okay, so what if I like triple the minimum power and then like, have it, go based off of there and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, an average group should only have 1, maybe 2 legendary items for the entire group. Not 1 per, it's for the entire group.
Yeah. But yeah, so I basically just kind of like yeeted together some numbers for it, just to be like, okay, so like we have it technically for the testing purposes.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, you're going to see something very familiar, and I'm going to remind you that the column that matters the most is the difficulty 7 column on this. So go ahead and go over to the tier 1 weapon test. This is a tier 1 weapon versus light armor. Tier 1 light weapon versus light armor, tier 1 medium versus medium, and heavy versus heavy. So, what all of these means on the top. I'm going to go over like the difficulty 5 section here just because it's right next to the thing. Obviously, type and tier are the same. Difficulty 5 physical SD. SD stands for soak damage. This is how much soak damage the armor is taking. The HD is health damage. So this is how much damage the wearer is taking. And then it goes to special, so that way we have both damage types. Because, weapons can be either.
Yeah.
So, a lot of information here, but the layout is pretty self-explanatory. So, what matters the most is the difficulty 7 section. And what we're mostly looking at here is, for each of these, it's going to be the tier of the weapon versus the tier of armor that we're testing the weapon on. As well as the tier before and after to see what happens.
Put a pin in that real quick. ADHD brain is struck.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to make notes, and we'll come back to that later. Had a random idea and wanted to write it down real fast. Okay, carry on. Or back up just slightly.
All right. Cool. What we're looking at here is basically tier to tier, as well as the tier before and the tier after. So for tier 1, all we care about is tier 1 and 2 on this chart currently. But for, the completeness sake, it has all of it. So, for example, light tier 1 weapons versus light armor. What we can see here is that, the armor helps protect you, but you're still likely to get chipped. This is basically how it probably should work. It basically removes the damage pool at the cost of durability and turns it into a chance of you getting hurt instead of it being like, okay, well, if you get hit, you're likely to get chipped. Now it's just like, for example, if you specialize your light physical armor and you get hit with, a light weapon, you have, by this, a pretty good chance of not actually taking damage yourself. Which is nice. But also, tier 1 armor only has, 5 durability. So, helps, but it won't last. Balanced is interesting because, on the light side, It has additional soak, but has no negations for a while. So you can actually see that it's taking like double the damage of like armor, but it also is doing the equivalent of counting both of these as strong. Which I think is a pretty fair trade-off, considering there's not too much that we can really do with light balanced armor to make it interesting. So that's basically the thing. It counts both as strong, but it takes a lot of damage really fast. A lot of durability damage. Now, looking at the tier 2 armor, this is working pretty much exactly like how I would expect it to, which is the specialized. You are very likely, you are not expected as the wearer to take any damage at all if it's specialized. If it's the wrong type and it's weak, you have a small chance of taking damage. And again, for the balanced on light here, it is, you're not expected to really take damage at all, but again, durability go burr. It go bye-bye. So that's pretty much expected for light armor, in my opinion. For the medium weapons versus medium armor, it's a pretty similar story. The specialization helps a little bit extra here. But, against a medium weapon, you're expected to lose, like, a chunk of soak if it's specialized correctly with taking no damage. If it's wrong, you're expected to, take some chip as the wearer. And for the generalist, well, you may or may not take chip, soak durability damage go burr. It just helps against everything slightly. Tier 2 for both of these is pretty interesting because Tier 2 armor versus Tier 1 weapons shows that if it's specialized, you're basically expected to take armor chip damage. But if it's not, again, your armor durability is going to go bye-bye. And then balanced helps against everything, but not as much. Which is going to be a pretty common theme here. And for Tier 1 heavy weapons, it's mostly the literal exact same story as it's been throughout the rest of these.
Yeah.
The only difference is that heavy weapons kind of slap, so you're still expected to take like a little bit of damage, but that's fine because you can't multi-attack with a heavy weapon. You're making one attack with a heavy weapon. So being expected to bust through even specialized armor sometimes is probably healthy for a heavy weapon. On tier. Off tier, heavy armor go burr. It also helps that you're... this is a little bit misleading because against someone in heavy armor, you're pretty likely to crit them if they aren't bracing. But I didn't want to take that into account because you're not guaranteed to do it, and I'm looking at the bottom line here.
Well, yeah, we don't want to consider that stuff.
Yeah. So, Tier 1 weapons, I wanted this to be really balanced because this is literally people's starting gear, so this kind of matters. This is the first stuff they're going to use. And also, coincidentally, this is also showing the expected damage for weapons and moves are literally the same. The point that matters is the extra effects you can throw on. So this is also simultaneously testing the equivalent of quick, standard, and full action moves against armors. For all of these. Because this is just going off of power, which means we are looking at both. It's just that explicitly this is technically a weapons test, but the math works out so it's the same for both. So this is moves and weapons, technically. So, are we happy with how Tier 1 weapons are stacking up with on and near tier armor?
I would definitely say so. Is there much significant difference on the other ones, though?
At points, yes. So these do change in between things. But I can give you a small breakdown of basically, if you're down an armor tier, even more specialized, like heavy armors, you're expected to take damage. A little bit of damage, but you're still expected to take damage. Medium has a trend where specialized medium, you're not expected to take damage. Like wear damage. Definitely you're expected to take armor damage, obviously. And specialized heavy, even down a tier, is still not, you're still not expected to take wearer damage. Now, the only worrying part to me that I see throughout this is that down tiered, well, I guess I should say sometimes you'll take wearer damage for the heavy armor thing. The only part that I find a little bit worrying that I want to go over is the on-tier heavy balanced armor. So, like, if we go to basically any of these for heavy balanced, besides tier 1, you are not expected to take damage, but it does come with a trade-off of you are expected to have your soak kind of eaten up and your durability murdered with every attack that hits you. That's like, you know, on weight tier with your armor for if it's like a heavy weapon.
I think I'm okay with that.
But this is pretty strong. And again, this is testing the on tier effects, like in weight class effectively. Because if I wanted to test everything against everything, we'd be looking at 64 or 60 64? 63 of these things. And I don't think we want to look at 63 of these things.
No, we do not. But that is, like, it's all making sense. It all checks out.
So this pattern continues where light armor, you're still expected to take damage even from light weapons that are on tier with you, but it eats away basically all of the actual bite to it. Medium, if you don't specialize on tier, you're expected to get hit with a little bit of damage, generally speaking. Sometimes it'll be at a point where, like, what's a good example of this? After tier 4 is when the armor starts going, oh, hey, I'm not expected. Actually, I guess specifically on tier 4 for medium balanced is an outlier where tier 4 medium weapons versus tier 4 medium balanced armor, the wearer is not expected to have a chance of getting chipped. But in weapons tests of 1, 2, and 3 show a chance. Tier 4 medium armor specifically doesn't. 5, 6, and even 7, because funnily enough, the numbers I put out for legendary weapons and legendary armor are balanced somehow. Tier 4 specifically shows an outlier here. Now, we can't really do anything, I think, numbers-wise to change it. It's just more something that I wanted to point out because it was anomalous.
That's definitely weird.
Yeah. But it mostly continues a trend of medium specialized armor will generally work and not having the armor take damage on tier. But if it's weak, you're expected to get still get hit pretty decently, and you just lose a lot of your soak durability. Light, if you it just mostly eats away the bite of an attack without actually stopping it. Because even going like up a tier on light armor, it generally still up a tier specialized against the damage. It still just mostly eats it and doesn't eat all of it on average. So it's just in a space where a lot of this is working out like it should, but there's like occasionally just some weird things that go on with it. But besides that, yeah, no, I had to, I put a lot of hours into slightly changing numbers and scaling and like starting points with this. But yeah, no, design-wise, this is, I'd say it's pretty balanced. The only thing I do want to bring up is that, you know, this will lengthen the amount that a fight can go on, and I need to bring up something where if we ship this, we're making the best build in the game better.
What
Because
build?
if condition builds, because conditions bypass armor. So if we make armor and we accept that armor is becoming more and more necessary for the game, conditions bypass armor, which means that we'd literally be hardcore buffing the strongest build in the game by having it bypass the majority of someone's defenses automatically.
Maybe we should put in that armor also gives a bonus to soul save. It doesn't make sense with all of the conditions.
Yeah.
But
Because we have damaging conditions, but we also have non-damaging conditions.
I still think we may want to consider doing that.
Yeah,
Either that or we find a way to weaken conditions, but I worry about that because I'm not sure how exactly we go about weakening it.
yeah, because the thing about conditions is, conditions are either strong or they're useless. At least for inflicting conditions on opponents. Positive conditions, those are always good. But for inflicting conditions on opponents, it's in the area of save or suck. It is either good and useful, or it is literally hot garbage. So we might just want to come up with a thing where we just have it be soul save increasing. It feels like a cheap way of doing it.
It does, but at the same time,
Counterpoint, we haven't exactly introduced other items yet. We could easily make an item that's outside of armor or weapons that increases soul save.
it's true.
Like your
There,
standard cloak of resistance.
I was planning to add accessories to the like we already have a section for them.
Yeah, we
Just
did plan out to have those.
Yeah.
So instead of adding to the armor, it might just behoove us to get a couple of simple accessories in that do similar things for soul save sooner rather than later.
That sounds like a good idea
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, I figured that was kind of what we were shooting for accessories anyway, but I needed to bring this up here and now because it is a legitimate concern with all of this.
It is, but I don't want to shortcut something just to come back and remove it later. So I would say let's leave it out for now. Yeah, it'll make the game a little bit more rough for a little bit, but excuse me. It's best served in accessories, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Accessories
it
or
really
shields?
is. Shields are supposed to be more like multi-purpose, so it could definitely be there in shields, but I feel like this should definitely be accessories wheelhouse. Because after all, having something like, a brooch that protects you from a curse is, like, very on brand for accessories.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, is probably where we should focus this sort of stuff on. But it feels bad. You know what? Here, I'm gonna put it this way. Technically speaking, we're not changing the offensive stuff really all that much right now because I specifically made these numbers to slot as closely with moves as physically possible, with the intention that it'll be the secondary effects that set them apart, but the base power is the same. So with this in mind, armor is very useful, but technically speaking, nothing is changing offensively for condition builds for a while, because people kind of aren't wearing armor right now that much anyway. Like, we have a couple people that do, but most characters are not wearing armor. So we still have a bit before armor probably starts becoming more widespread. And then condition builds are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because right now we're kind of in a situation where if people knew what to do and did it, there'd be a massive problem. But because people just aren't doing that yet, we technically speaking don't have a problem right this second. But it does mean we will.
You sound like a lot of my corporate people that I work for right now.
Okay, yes, but am I wrong?
No, but I reserve the right to make fun of you for sounding like my VP going, well, if nobody's doing it, then it's not a problem. Then 3 weeks later, it's a problem.
Okay, look, I'm literally saying we have a little bit until they start doing it and it becomes a problem. All that I'm saying is that this sort of kind of needs to be the next big project we work on, because otherwise that timer is going to hit and we're going to have a problem.
Let's just make sure that by the end of this month, we got a quick flip for at least one item that deals with soul save specifically.
Yeah.
It may be something that can at least minorly boost status moves specifically as well. Since we're creating a defensive item, we should always match it with an offensive item.
Yeah.
Well, we are doing both right now, weapons and armor. Yeah, Garou, you're definitely right on that.
Yeah. So, but that's also why I'm just bringing this up now, because we need to be very cognizant of this and taking steps about it, because otherwise it will literally just become a problem.
I think for this month, we've got a lot of things that we're kind of going around on. Let's focus down. I would like to try and get armor and weapon traits finished this month, as well as the updated armor and weapon rules. And then next month, which isn't that far away, and people can deal with, conditions being strong as heck against armor for a month, especially
considering. Yeah.
So next month we can start coming up with traits for accessories and shields. Hey, Merle.
Yeah. That's that. Hello, Merle. That's about where I was too with this, where it's just we have a timer, we're on a timer with it, but it's technically speaking not a problem right this second. But we do need to make sure that we're on it, because otherwise, oh my god, we're going to be in a fucking house of cards. So yeah, focusing down on weapons and armor for this month.
And XP.
XP, yeah. Well, that was going to be the next thing we were leading into. Anyway.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you want to inspect the numbers more, I specifically laid it out so that way it's pretty easy for us to check numbers and see if we want to adjust any of these for balance reasons. I think it's pretty good. I stuck with a linear scaling as well to make it pretty understandable, but we can curve things here and there in order to hammer out any outliers if we care about it enough.
I think things are looking good right now.
Because this should give us a really nice foundation for building out traits and stuff.
Yes. But if there's nothing else on that, I think that's good to go, and I can move it over to the main document soon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Guru. We have been working on this for over 2 years now. We have recordings go from the beginning of me working on this before. I think Tal, you joined up pretty close to the start, but Eric came in later, and it all started because I got sick of Pokeroll and their 3 different rules for the same thing, and all of them contradicting each other. And basically everybody had to... I don't know anybody that plays Pokeroll by the book without basically homebrewing it into a brand new system anyways.
Yeah. Also, I showed up like a week after you started it. When I say showed up, I mean like, started working on it with you like a week after you started it.
I think I came into your stream really drunk after one of my sessions one night and gave the Mind, Body, Soul suggestion.
That one came from Panthanea.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it basically started as we had a grievance with a system and we wanted to do that, and then we just decided, well, you know what, fuck it, if we're putting all this work into it, we might as well actually make a system.
Exactly. So, what was originally going to be just Pokemon, it now is much more broad, and we're hoping to make it work with literally anything you want. And all of us working on this have a lot of experience with tabletop of all kinds. And, yeah, we decided to go ahead and do it.
But yeah, no, I went ahead and I was nice to you because while I was going to drown you in math, by the way, Tigaro, I'm the math guy. Hi. I was going to drown you in math. I did already pre-split it up into obviously like the 3 big tables and then by tier tables. So that should make it pretty easy for you, if by no other reason than being able to literally look over and have the table like pre-made, if not designed how you want it.
It was very appreciated.
Tal messaged me the other day and went, "Do you want to see all the math I'm going to drown Zim with?" And I'm like, "I'm sick, but I'll pretend like I can understand it with no brain cells."
You could have just said, "No, I'm sick," and I just would have been like, "All right, feel better."
No, I looked at it.
So
I was still at work.
Guru, our goal is to make a system that is somewhere between the simplicity of D&D 5th edition and the options and complexity that's available for more veteran players that Pathfinder has. But this is our current version of the character sheet.
I make the character sheet too.
Yeah, Tal did all this and made things auto-calculate for you and such. We are doing our best to stick to, KISS, or keep it simple, stupid. or keep it stupid simple. It depends on the person you're referring to that with. But it's still... It's a little complex. But so far, everybody's been loving it.
Yeah.
Well,
When we say
almost
complex,
everybody.
we mean you have... Yeah. When we say it's complex, it means you have a lot of options, but technically speaking, you could just decide you like one mechanic and just lean into it.
Yes. You can, like, we've got a lot of options that you could go into. Or you can just stick with one thing and do really good at it.
We kind of just gave it as many plug-and-play, build your own, whatever you want to do as possible.
Yeah, the document is at 150 pages right now. And except for one section, I have written all of this.
To be fair, a lot of that's just because, like, a while ago you decided to keep verbiage and all that consistent. You were going to be the one to write everything.
Well, yes.
I'm
trying to defend my purpose in this group.
Oh no, that's fine. I was just gonna say because otherwise I would be like sneaking in sections, but I can't do that. I can't sneak in sections on you.
I'd be doing the same, to be honest.
Yes, Guru. We went with the rainbow for different chapters, or I decided to rather. Chapter 1 starts with purple, chapter 2 is blue, then it goes to green, yellow, so on and so forth. And I try to color code, or color highlight important sections of each section, you know? And yeah, exactly, Guru. The main point was color code, so that way you flip to the book and you know, okay, this is yellow, so I'm either in the equipment chapter, or if it's further along in the book, I think the other yellow chapter is the Scar characters? No. It was the alternate realities, the world that I'm working on building for it. Also, holy crap, we have so many people on the dock right now.
Yeah, I think a bunch of people are like opening up right now to look at it. I've just been watching all the bubbles pop up.
Yeah. We've got a dinosaur, a frog, platypus, coyote, jackal, manatee.
Yeah. The manatee's idle, though.
True. Got a tiger in here, a unicorn, and a squirrel.
Nice.
Squirrel.
Yeah. Yeah, we do a lot of, we try to be careful with the design. Sometimes, we just fuck up. But the nice part is because we run, like, so many games, like, in the community, as well as a couple of games elsewhere, we find out really quickly, and we could just fix it, because we do all of our dev stuff live, and so people could literally just tune in and go, hey, you broke something.
Yep. Or they can post it on the Discord. Like, at one point, I, somewhat recently, that would be up in the... It would have been much faster if I went through the list, but oh well. Here in Chapter 2, I had a quick reference table here. And I accidentally put in that skills were 10 XP per dot, when it's supposed to be 5.
Mm-hmm.
That was a slight goof.
Accidentally doubling the EXP cost, you know, minor goof.
But yeah. And we got our credits section. We've got a lot of people that have helped with this.
Yep.
But anyways, on to the next section. First things first. I'm sure I'm gonna get, so you guys aren't gonna be happy with this. What if we change the name of Send to Blast? Because I know we weren't too happy about Send in the first place.
It was more like the least bad option.
Yeah, it really was. Because there's just not a term for a natural ranged attack. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it might feel better than Send to the general public.
I mean, I guess it's better than Send.
I am also okay with keeping it Send. It was just something that came to mind.
I have mixed feelings on it. Because Blast sounds like a move trait almost to me.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, yeah, it almost does. Because the problem is that, like, I'm really not too happy with Send as the skill name, but... Like, I feel like Blast is marginally better.
We can always change it again as much as people don't like it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
the thing about changing it, I have to rework multiple parts of the sheet every time we change the name.
Yeah.
True.
And we have, we've done this, 4 times now? Maybe
Yeah,
5?
The reason why I'm not, just going, well, it's marginally better, so we should move to it, is just because I'd have to put out an entire new sheet edition just for this one change, and I'd have to change a lot of the... I would have to rework some things on the sheet. Maybe, an hour and a half worth of work, but then people would have to swap to that, and then if we change it again, it keeps having to happen. So I'm fine putting this back on the drawing board of, trying to find a name we're happy with for this. But that's also why I'm not just, hopping on, well, I think this name is slightly better, so let's use it.
The problem with Throw Guru is that we have 2 different skills. We've got one for a natural attack, a natural ranged attack to be precise, and then we have another one that is a ranged weapon.
Yeah.
So throwing a rock would fall under marksman, our ranged weapon skill. Yeah, Blast, or Send, as it's currently named, is for you're shooting a puff of fire out of your mouth. Yeah, this would be more like firing a spine from a porcupine kind of thing. Breath weapons, it's a ranged
Encapsulating
natural attack.
all of that.
Yeah. Breath weapons, firing a spine, shooting out puff of fire, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. We used, I think I suggested project at some point, but the problem is that people are also going to look at that and think it's project. Like, oh, I'm going to work on a project.
Yeah, that was kind of the reason why we shut down project. Well, these are typically more magical attacks anyways. But it's still just in case they do have a more physical presence, like, firing a spine from your body or a feather or something,
Emit might be a good one. That's a good suggestion.
It is. See, this is also part of why we do these dev sessions live, because then we get some suggestions that are like, ooh.
Yeah. Emit's probably the best one we're gonna get, honestly.
Why don't we write down Emit and then see what other people in the community that actually play the games think, too. If we can get their actual opinions.
That's what I was thinking. Do a little mini poll on the Discord.
Yeah, I'm immediately shooting this off to the other group that I'm in. Actually, you know, this is legitimately hilarious. I led off in the there's like a little Scar Talk channel, so that way like I can let them know when we change things or workshopping things. I went, hey, we're talking about changing Send to something else again, finally. The first thing that someone said, oh, are you changing it to a mid or something?
I would respond with, I would admit that statement, please.
By the way, for that channel, I will point out that the Scar Announcements channel is set up as an announcement one. You can actually click that follow button and have anything I post in there automatically get posted into channels and other Discords.
Yeah, I know. The thing is that I tell them things ahead of time, because half the time I use them as guinea pigs before we officially ship something.
Fair. I was just letting you know that that's a thing, in case you didn't know.
You're a guinea pig.
Technically speaking, we don't... Technically speaking, that entire game plays on fucking beta.
Also, Viv, what do you think about changing the name for...
I think Emit is probably a better name than that will.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and include Project on the list for the poll. Just
Project
in case.
is also not bad, so.
Yeah.
But I think Emit works a bit better.
Project was something I threw out a while ago, but we literally only didn't go with it because it's also the same exact spelling as Project.
Yeah, and I still think of somebody doing the astral projection thing.
Yeah, and we didn't want to use cast because we're making a magic system and there's going to be a skill specifically for term specifically. It's going to be a game term for cast. So, you know. But yeah, no, I like Emit, but yeah, put out that thing. Funnily enough, I have now sparked an entire discussion about other words that could have been used. Immediately after the Emit one was put out, someone else threw out Project. And then they went unfortunate, and then there was an entire discussion about it, and they have decided that Project and Project are hard to differentiate from spoken to written, so that's kind of not a good option, actually. I love that group.
Well, did we talking about this the last time we changed it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I
told them we were discussing it.
I think I will not include Project. Because, yeah, it really is just a bad choice.
Yeah, it's a very good word choice, but it's bad because of the English language.
Precisely.
It's all in agreement for ditching English and choosing a new language.
Are there any others that we want to put onto this list? I've got keep it, send, emit, blast.
I think that's good.
I'll give it a minute or two for any ideas.
Yep. We could always retouch on this, like at the end of the dev session to see if anyone else thought of anything.
That's a good idea. I'll leave it there and post it after we're done. All right.
Yeah.
Be right
So-
back here.
We should probably do the EXP discussion.
Yes. As Zara has stepped away.
Continue talking, I can hear.
Okay, fair enough. One thing that should be pretty quick. I'm thinking that if for the move variant of teleport, I'm thinking if they are specifically teleporting next to the target, it should have a discount on the range bands. I'm currently thinking half off. You know, if it's I'm teleporting next to you to attack, that's kind of what I'm thinking on this. Whereas, because otherwise, you know, you've got the range bands that you could purchase and... Oh, yeah, I'm teleporting over here and then throwing this fireball at you.
Because
Because it doesn't feel right for them to be putting themselves into, you know, melee for the same cost as being able to just use it from further away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So my proposal is half off discount on the range increase for the range bands, but that is only applicable if the move is strictly you have to be next to them to attack. Or we could allow some reach, but that would be, you know, full cost for reach.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm kind of concerned about is if we make the barrier for entry for teleporting stuff really low, we're just going to have, like, everyone teleporting around constantly. Which,
I mean, teleport itself is still, I believe, currently 27 XP.
it is, yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a low barrier of entry.
No, but you know what I mean, right? Like, when I'm talking about, like, more later game stuff, where, you know, you have some spare extra stuff on an attack, so you just go, okay, well, I'll just toss a teleport on that.
You mean later
Which
game
isn't-
when they should be feeling really awesome and epic?
Yeah, but the only thing that I'm thinking about with that is just, again, like, if it turns into, like, you know, a DBZ system where everyone, like, for every attack is instant transmissioning next to whatever their target is. It really isn't that much of a problem. It's just more something that, like, I'm trying to think about ahead of time if that would be... Because on one hand, it's nice to have that feeling of power of being able to teleport. It's another thing if everyone is teleporting all the time, because that might turn into a negative experience, which is what I was trying to consider. Because it's one thing for, like, melees to be teleporting around constantly, but it'd also kind of be a bit of a feels bad for, like, let's say, like, a more classical, like, like, ranged fighter to always and forever constantly have everyone teleporting on top of you.
Yeah, but they can also pick up their own teleport.
Yeah, but that, you know what I mean, right? Where I'm just trying to think about if it becomes a negative experience at that point.
Somewhat, yeah.
Well, like I said, right now, really not that much of a problem. It's just more something that... This is something that I'm bringing up to make sure that we're being cognizant about it.
I would think teleportation would probably be limited to specific types as well.
Well, we're specifically not limiting that.
Yeah, it is, we're focusing on balance first, and so that's why we don't want anybody to really... we do have some affinity feats that are... You have to be specific type for them, but the barrier for entry into getting more of those is relatively low.
It's literally just XP.
Yeah.
And some storyteller proof, but it's XP.
Yeah, and even then, it's discounted. Like, those feat, to get a new type affinity, it's only 10 XP now.
Well, for the first one, and it scales. It's 10, then 15, then 20, then 25,
Well, yeah.
and a cap out of 25.
Yeah. But either way, it's like, we want to make sure that everybody has as balanced an experience as possible. Just like phasing is not strictly a ghost type ability.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering because does raise an extremely good point. Like if you're playing a majority ranged character and getting teleported on constantly because that's how the balance is gone, it kind of just makes your character awful to play.
We could say that long range is not available to you if you've got teleport.
Make it like a short range thing only.
I'd be okay with medium, but...
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I mean by short range. Like not being able to just pew across the battlefield at somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would probably line up a bit better.
Yeah, short to medium would be more okay. Mostly because, again, like, it is just a worry if it becomes a negative experience for ranged characters at that point.
Yeah, because if the player group all starts putting teleport on their stuff, all the melee characters pick teleport, it kind of forces the DM to work around that, the storyteller to work around that, and either do the same, so it makes it so, hey, don't split your party by teleporting into battle immediately, or they're just going to go hit your backline, or they'd have to come up with some way to, like, negate teleportation stuff.
I
or
mean,
counter it in some way.
Limiting it to short range at least at first, and maybe at higher levels, maybe make it a feat that can push it up to medium or something.
I could see that. Make it more of an XP sink if you really want to go for that type of build.
I'm fine with... I'm fine with taxing people for it, I guess. It's just, yeah, I just wanted us to be cognizant of this. And Tigar, yes. Yes, it does. But basically, so long as they actually have to do some amount of normal movement or positioning or working in on that, so long as there is some level of that, I'm more okay with it.
I'm okay with turning the move teleport back to where it originally was, where it would still provoke attacks of opportunity. It doesn't make that much sense, but
The problem is now that also makes it so that way it's even worse for the ranged character.
Yeah, I don't think
now they can't teleport away.
true.
I don't think attacks of opportunity are the option. I think having a special teleport that's only short range that gets you into melee combat would be fine as long as you have a target on the field or something like that. We just need to be careful the range band's not getting too intense.
Yeah, which is why I'm fine limiting it to short to begin with, and then like taxing them to get to medium, but not letting them get long.
So what we could do is to get teleport, it'll automatically, we could bump up the price a little bit, give them access to short range with it, just with the purchase of it. But then to get, higher ranges, they would then have to purchase short range and then medium range as well. But, well, no, because the whole point of me bringing this up was giving a balance to melee-only characters that are using teleport to just get into melee range. Whereas, ranged characters can just teleport and still be able to make use of the range. But I was wanting to give a discount if the move is strictly melee. The actual attack portion of it.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know if we have a good way of doing this without it being convoluted somehow.
Yeah. Well, it's not very convoluted, it's just the concern is brought up for, teleporting next to them.
Yeah, when I say convoluted, I mean figuring out a way to do it that doesn't cause additional problems will likely... It's a little bit convoluted right now. So... specifically only affecting melee.
Couldn't we just create a teleportation that only works on attacking moves then?
Call it like Blink or something?
Yeah, where you can teleport short X medium range, but you have to attack and you can't move again. Or something.
Force it to be a commitment as
Yeah.
well. With that,
We
yeah.
could have Blink go off of like charge rules or something.
But avoids the attack of opportunities of charging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like that
you
actually.
blink forward slightly, but you can't. You are literally just straight up. I'm teleporting like 15 feet forward to get to you. Get fucked. But it also, if it goes off of charge rules, it lowers your defenses, and narratively, it kind of makes sense.
I'm okay
But it
with
wouldn't
the
make sense
blink.
for a ranged character to pick up Blink, because why would you want to charge into open air? Considering charge wouldn't work with that.
So basically adding a new teleportation to the list called Blink.
Yeah.
And have it work like a charge.
I like that.
Yeah, that
Okay.
feels a lot better.
So
That lets me think of the dimensional assault set from Pathfinder a little bit.
okay.
That just
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ramble a little bit. It's fine. I'll save it for after.
So, with that in mind, for me to actually put this in here, we're going to have to come up with costs and all that. So right now, teleport is 27 XP. Do we want to change that with this new... Well, I mean, I guess it's good, like, if you just want more range for your teleport,
Yeah.
even if you are teleporting next to them. So...
we could make it so that way Blink, for example, could be 20 to 25, but it gets short range for free, but it can't be upgraded past short range. So that way it's cheaper, and it gets that, maybe 25 XP. It's cheaper than getting teleport and short range on something, because teleport plus short range is 37. But you wouldn't want it on a ranged character, you'd only want it on, a melee attack.
Considering the debuff that comes with it, I don't like the idea of it costing 25.
Well, it comes with a debuff, but if it works like a charge, we could also just have it give the benefits of a charge.
I'm okay with it not getting that. I would say that you have the defense penalties from charge, but it is cheaper. I'm thinking 15, maybe 18.
Okay, if you don't get the benefits of charge, it's shorter range than charge. You go through all enemies teleporting, except for your target, so you avoid all attacks of opportunity on the charge. -1 difficulty to hit and damage you. This is a pretty situational effect. Which might not be a bad thing, but just thinking about it.
It's not something someone would want to just spam to get from enemy to enemy.
Yeah. This is a very situational, I need to hit that target right now. Let's say someone is there's a fucking healer right there or something, and you need to deal with them right now, so you blink onto them.
I am thinking that synergy of, it would still be limited to that short range. But, if you've got additional targets, the additional target trait on there, I don't see why, say they're at 30 feet, they got 3 enemies 10 feet apart, you blink to the first one, then continue to the second, and then finish on the third.
Okay, so you want them to be able to, blink warrior their ass with it.
Yeah. Obviously, that's
okay.
going to require additional targets, so that's going to be an additional purchase, but...
In that case, yeah, I'm fine if it's 18, maybe 20. Definitely shouldn't be 15, not if you can slap on additional shit like that.
I mean, considering
not if it
cost
has
of the
synergistic
additional
effects.
stuff. Okay.
Well, yeah, but so long as it's... Yeah, okay. So long as it works synergistically, I'm fine if it's 18 to 20.
Yeah, 18 to 20 was roughly where I was thinking it should be before we even got into the synergies and debuffs and whatnot. That just feels like a better amount. Personally, I like 20 a bit more, but that's just how I like my numbers to be and more even.
Well, the thing is that picking up stuff like additional enemies is 12, so if you make it 18, that plus 1 additional enemy is, or additional
30.
target is 30.
Okay.
But then again, technically speaking, don't have to do that for this to be useful, but it's a consideration. That's why the stat change thing on a non-damage is 18 XP, because a lot of the stat changers are 12 exactly, so it ends up being exactly 30.
Fair enough.
All right. So I've got noted down here, uses charge rules for debuffs only. Make sure I've got that noted.
Yeah, make sure you note down you don't get the benefits.
Yeah. Has short range for free, cannot be upgraded, 18 XP, Has synergies with additional target where they can TP from one target to another. Cannot exceed total range.
I do have a question about the additional target. That would force them to have multiple attacking moves to make use of that too, right?
No.
Or
Not
it
if
would-
you put damage on the blink itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So if blink is if blink is part of the damaging move, then they would blink to one target, hit them, blink to another target, hit them.
Yes. With the
Yeah.
damage
Okay.
that is on that specific move.
Okay, so it would have to. Okay. I see. I like
Yeah.
that.
Which is why I said, Blink Warrior their ass. You do the equivalent of like teleport to 5 people, attack them all with like, a slash.
To give a small example, it's kind of like Warlock's upgraded Eldritch Blast, when they get to 5th level, where you are launching 2 of them instead of just having more damage. So you
Yeah.
can choose 2 different targets.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm fine with that. If that's a mechanic we're doing, that's good.
Okay, well, that settles the melee-only issue.
I mean, I guess unless you want to get attack of opportunity by 5 people, that'd be pretty funny, actually.
Nova would do it.
You could do it ranged, and then do a ranged attack right in someone's face, but you get attack of opportunity by everyone. It's a really niche meme strategy to use up all of the enemy's reactions with one character.
So, do we want it to be where they have to finish, when they're done with the move, they have to be next to someone? Or can they just, I'm just going to blink over here?
You have to blink to a target enemy, so
Well, to
You'd have- you'd have to blink to a target. So
I guess if you were creative, you could target like like say a tree or a rock and blink attack to it to get away.
Yeah, but we want to encourage that stuff with creative solutions.
Yes, that's why I'm saying like I would say make it target specific, but don't like make it specifically say target, not enemy.
Yeah, target.
Okay.
That way, also, for example, technically speaking, and this is a really funny niche case, you could make a blink heal move and target all your allies.
Oh, yeah.
Ren, get on that.
Yeah, you can hurt the entire team at once now.
Now he can fail 4 different heals at once.
Yep. But yeah, so long as this is synergistic, it is worthy of being its own thing, which it definitely is.
Okay. So we got that out of the way. One other quick thing that this is what came to mind while we were going through the weapons and armor. I haven't been super fond of calling it special. Cause it feels too much like copying Pokemon.
Yeah, well, to be fair, this is literally a vestigial part of the system anyway.
It is. Do we want to maybe change it to... I at the moment, I came up with ethereal, but later it was like, maybe energy instead?
On the other hand, ethereal... I'm not quite sure about the connotation of it. And the denotation. It's not perfect, but it does correctly strike like an opposite contrast of physical.
Yeah. Yes, Scheme, and we already went through that. We're going to do a mini poll We also had a suggestion from Guru there of doing emit instead. So we're going to have a mini poll for that on the Discord after our dev session here.
Spiritual? Maybe not, but it keeps
No,
an S.
Spiritual
Keeps an
ended up
S.
sounding like a soul move then.
Yeah.
That'd be confusing.
Yeah.
As for your question, Zerda, yes, we already have Bleed. It's not named Bleed, but the intention behind, I forget, I think it was Blight?
Blight is the poison/bleed equivalent.
Yeah.
Equivalent. We have poison as like a separate thing, but that's the poison/bleed equivalent of, okay, you just take a little bit of damage constantly now.
Yeah, Blight is both, you know, taking damage from... they're both damage over times. Blight is damage over time. So if you are burning, if you are poisoned, you're bleeding, whatever the case may be, however it actually works, the term mechanically for it is Blight. Yes, they are Geemon. We're just adding a new Blink variant for specifically melee users. Zerda, we unfortunately do not have traits for weapons yet. We've got a somewhat system in place for that, but that is something that we're going to... It is going to be a focus, either, if not this month being finished, then next month.
Yeah. To be fair, you can still homebrew some stuff for now, so long as it changes when we actually make it.
Exactly. You can add it now, but be aware that you'll need to change it to align with the system when it's actually there.
Supernatural? It's kind of long, though.
Yeah.
We do actually have a system for imbuing, like, you know, your effects onto a weapon. It's called a meld. You can
Yes.
technically meld more than just moves and weapons. You can meld, like, basically everything together, but it's called a meld.
Which I have been slowly working on typing into the document.
Yeah.
We have the rules for it. We're good on them. We just need to actually put them in.
Write it out.
Yeah, write it out. I just went ahead and added the note about Blight being, you know, poison, bleeding, etc. to the entry there, so when I actually get around to rewriting that, eventually, probably a year from now, considering the rate I've been rewriting these, I remember to make sure to mention that.
Yep. Also, at this point, I'm literally just going to look through a bunch of different S words to see if I find a good S one, because I kind of want to keep the S because of all the abbreviations. Everyone is going to be too used to it starting with, like, the S on their stats and all that.
Well,
So I want to see if I can't find an S word for it.
that is fair.
Just to make it as easy as possible on people. If
We
I can
could call
find
it
a good S
send.
word... No. I will actually stab you.
All right,
Being
good
a
night,
little
people.
shitter.
Do you have any ideas on this, Era?
Off the top of my head, currently, no. I don't really have an issue with special personally. If we want to get rid of it, I don't have any ideas. I would need a clearer head to think than I have right now.
Yeah, I'm also fine with keeping it, but if we're considering it, I'm going to try and find an S word for it. So we doing the EXP discussion now?
1 second. Yeah, we'll put the special rename on the docket for thinking of over before next session. Come back to it then.
Yeah. Especially considering we said we were just going to do one quick thing before doing the EXP discussion, and now we've done multiple discussions.
That tends to be how it goes, yeah.
I was just letting Zerda know about XP from last Thursday's session I ran. Yeah, Guru. There's a reason I keep working on multiple different things. It drives some of my other devs here crazy, but I have ADHD. I cannot just sit down and focus on one thing. Sometimes the inspiration is there. Sometimes it's like, no, I'm gonna go work on magic today. But yes, let's get into the XP discussion. Do you want to head that, Tao?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so, and just to let you know, Era, me and Zim kind of talked about this a bit, last night, and, I kind of noticed something interesting when going through, various characters that I felt like, game-wise, we were at about the right, EXP amount for, as well as quite literally on the spot, making a few characters at certain various levels, with what both me and Zim kind of like expected would be the bare minimum that we would expect from a character at this attribute count. And one thing that we noticed is that on a bunch of these kinds of like characters and sheets and games that we felt was pretty on brand with where we should be.
Mm-hmm.
We noticed that with about a it was about 100 XP per additional attribute that someone had earned after their starting 8. So, like, for example, a 700 XP character would be reasonably at 15 attributes. Now, there's some wiggle room with this. Some were a bit higher, some were a bit lower. But we kind of noticed that it felt fine, maybe like, feeling a little bit high or a little bit low, so long as it was within about 15 or 20 XP per attribute. But beyond that, it started feeling like something was really off. So, just to run through like a couple of different games, for Wild Traditions, we're in the 90 to 100 bracket, and we feel like, obviously, yeah, well, not like fully starved, but like, oh, hey, we need a bit more XP.
Yeah.
We're a little bit below the 100 bar. For Lost in Chaos, we were at pretty much like exactly 100. For a side game that I'm in, we were at 100. We were at like 900 XP and 17 attributes, which that's 9 attributes with 900 XP. For Data anomaly hunters were in the 110 to 120 bracket, which is a little bit like on the higher end of things. Just based off of vibes, like, we felt like, at least me personally, I felt like I had enough XP to do what I wanted, and we were, like, maybe a tiny bit high on XP, but that wasn't, like, exactly problematic or anything, which puts us in the higher end of the bracket, where things felt like they were whereabout they should be, but without it being problematic.
So you're estimating per attribute above 8. You're
Yes.
starting.
Per
You're looking at
extra
100.
earned. About 100, yeah. With a
You
little
know-
bit of wiggle room in either direction.
The funny thing is I was sitting there trying to consider that myself, and I was coming to around the same figure when I was considering this, looking over my own characters, that around 100, depending on the power level you want your campaign at, was about correct.
Yeah. And this also held true almost exactly with the test characters I was making in order to test this out.
So it's funny that we came to the same conclusion. Yay.
Yeah.
I don't have to say it and explain it. I'm not even kidding. That was about where I was recommending. I don't remember if I was talking to Key or not at the time, but I was recommending, I think, to Key at the time. I was like, well, I think where you're going to want to aim to around 100 experience per attribute. Having a 10 dot character with only 100 experience is kind of painful, but you don't want to have like 400. So I think that's about the time that I was like looking at my own characters going, oh, 100 sounds about right.
Yeah. So obviously, like, the characters, like, if you were below that, you started feeling like, okay, I'm a bit low on XP. If it drops below, like, the 15 to 20 per attribute bar, you start feeling like you have fucking nothing. Which is definitely true for, like, the XP for Last Hope. We don't even have 600 XP, and we are at 18 attributes. So we're sitting
20
at,
for several of us.
20 for several of us, but I'm going by non-growth stage points, because growth stage are just kind of like, in my opinion, like, until everyone has it, quote-unquote, extra. So with that in mind, that game is sitting at, like, 59 XP per attribute, and we feel like we got none. Wild Traditions, we feel like we're pretty much where we should be, but, like, a little bit low. But we also just got attribute points, so, like...
Yeah, we need to build into it a little bit.
Yeah, we need to build into it a little bit, which is, again, like, perfectly fine. This is probably about where we should be, and it's right within that bracket. So for expected EXP and EXP recommendations, it sounds like we're all pretty much in agreement, I think. What do you think there, Viv? Because you're sitting there.
What, EXP per attribute, or past a certain point of attribute?
The per earned attribute after character creation. So, like, for example, by recommendations, what do you think about, like, a 10 attribute character having about 200 XP to work with?
Because starting is 8, right?
Starting is 8.
That would let you get a full move, at least one move, traits, or feats. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. And then at about 15 attributes, getting to the next bracket, what do you think about a character having about 700 XP?
I haven't, since we aren't that high, I can't say off of experience.
So let me tell you what.
So I'm unsure of how that would. I'm unsure of how that would feel.
It would be one skill maxed at 5 dots. A couple of them at 4, a couple of 3s, couple of 2s, couple of 1s, like, skittling around a bit, building up your core character skills. You would have enough XP to have about 3 filled out standard action moves, although obviously distributing the XP according to however you want. You would have enough to pick up another feat or 2 and another specialty or 2. And that would be for a 15 attribute character.
That sounds roughly alright.
Yeah.
That sounds because by that point you've got plenty of skills for your stuff. Obviously you're somewhat specialized, like most characters will be, and yeah, 3 moves by that point. Yeah, I'd say that sounds at least to me that sounds fairly good.
Yeah.
I'll let you know. I'll give you more opinions on that when we get there.
All right. But I was just more talking about like conceptually. Is
Conceptually,
that about where your expectations would line up?
Yes, with how the game is, with how our sessions have been going on so far, that is roughly what I expect.
All right. So I will make note. Well, actually, I mean, that's already noted.
Because we talked about it last night.
Yeah. So the other thing here that I kind of had an idea about is automatically growing moves. Or more specifically, one. I was thinking that your starting move that you get could automatically increase in power as you increase with attributes. That way you always have a move that is up there and it gives you some more freedom to do other things. Ideally, it would reach power cap every time.
See, the problem is I think I've sold off the starting move on every single one of my characters.
I was gonna point out, what if we let someone denote, like, for their character, like, with their storyteller, what their quote-unquote signature is, and their signature one can grow naturally.
I like that. Like for Asher, it would be defrag, refrag.
Yeah, because most characters end up with a signature move that they use the most.
For Narashi, it would be her Tailblade.
Yeah. But that means that, but also the nice part about this is that if you have a signature move instead of it just being the base one, you could make your signature move be something non-damaging. So, that would grow naturally instead. Like, let's say you're doing like a stat change build where you want to nuke the enemy's stats. Your signature could just be something that, reduces an enemy's physical and special integrity just to make them weaker.
Question then, what if somebody's signature is a weapon?
Because this was specifically a discussion about moves.
I like this though, this discussion point. Because yeah, that is a good point. Some characters won't have moves. There may be campaigns that just don't have moves, period. So yeah, coming up with something for that would be good.
Probably. Actually, we could bring back an old term we tried to get people to use, but it didn't fucking work. Because even in Digimon, people were calling it moves. We could have it be a signature ability, and the ability could also extend to things like moves, weapons, and magic. Because all of those are technically abilities. Your ability to perform a move, your ability to use a weapon, and your ability to cast magic.
Because the best thing I was able to think of as far as like weapons go would be like how to put it the way my brain was thinking.
Like the legacy weapons that technically level with you in 3.5.
Yeah, something like that. Like you could probably like pick an area for like, I don't know, make it to where your sword maybe does a little bit more, maybe gets like a slight bonus to like one particular type of thing, because you're known to really not like that thing, or I don't know.
What I'm thinking,
that's the only way I could really see it for weapons.
What I'm thinking is your signature ability will always just automatically have XP. You just have free XP cap on it. probably the simplest way to do it, because, I mean, even weapons have XP with them. It covers moves, the way I'm thinking, magic right now will be tricky with that. But we could worry about that and adjusting this when we actually get to implementing that system. But your signature ability it just always, you have free XP to the XP cap. Whatever that may be for the particular, move, weapon, etc.
What about 10 XP times your attribute scale? Or 15, or something like that.
As like just a free bank, you can and that XP only goes towards what's considered your signature.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah, cause like free to cap could be quite
well, because then you'd
strong.
make your signature be a full action or a dynamic action.
Yeah,
we would definitely say that you cannot. That this is only for standard action. We would clarify that.
But what if someone's specialty, the thing they walk around with, is a heavy weapon?
Fair point.
And what if it's a light weapon and they want to like go around being, stabby dagger man?
I will be right back. My food is here.
All right.
Joking.
So if we make it 15 XP, funnily enough, that would make it so that way your specialty, if you make your specialty be light, it would pay for the light entirely. It would pay for half of a standard and a quarter of a full. And honestly, getting like rebate XP effectively on a quarter of a signature full action move is pretty fucking good, actually. Those full action moves are hard to fill out.
They are.
On purpose. Like that they're supposed to be, but being able to pay off a quarter of those, that's kind of nice. So if we make it 15 XP per times attribute scale, that means every 5 attributes, when you go into the next thing, your signature will automatically get upgraded to work towards your new cap, that feels pretty nice.
I would say that they are still beholden to XP cap, but
yeah,
it is going to just go up every time that you get an attribute point. So it's not going to be.
It needs to be attribute scale. Unless you want it to be 3 XP per attribute.
Well, you're suggesting 15 XP times 8. Or originally was 10 XP times 8.
No. I was saying attribute scale. You know the attribute scale? Like.
Yeah.
Not attribute point, attribute scale. So this would mean, like, for example, Squirrel is in attribute scale 3 currently. So Squirrel, for example, would get 45 XP to put towards, I don't know, like, what is Tail Axe? That's probably his signature.
It just feels like it's great if you're building for a quick action. But for a full action, like a standard action, which should be what our norm is.
That pays for half of it.
I'm gonna mull it over, but can I get your thoughts on that, Era?
At the moment, I'm a little foggy. I'm sorry. It really depends on how we want to balance it. Because if we want it to be a standard action, I would feel... See, the problem is that if somebody tries to make their quick action or a light weapon their standard, they're just going to be giving up free experience. So if we did balance it off a standard action, anybody that decided to give up or grow that way is just giving up stuff.
I mean, for people going for quick action varieties, I mean, most often the whole point of going quick action is kind of dual wielding or such. So it could be, or getting multiple attacks in and such. They could just, have two signature abilities that they have to split it between.
I mean, I guess, but the other part is that, because another important part about, like quick action attacks is that, for example, they're very good for melds, because you could you could move and then meld attack at the end of it, because move is standard, and then the meld at that point would be standard plus quick. So that would round out your turn. So it isn't always dual wielding that they care about. It's also just having a good action economy and being able to do stuff like that light weapon users can care about. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be the worst idea, but also that it can be a lot of XP really quickly, and also I know we aren't relying on this, but also I do want to point it out. A lot of times people are going to get discounts on their signature ability because it's what they train with and what they practice with and spar with, and it's what the storyteller is likely to give out discounts on. I know we aren't trying to rely on that, but I just want to bring up that point because it's a really feels-good moment when you get an additional discount for working with your signature. Or working with an ability.
I mean, yes, but also, I don't know. Because, the whole point of me bringing this up is that I wanted to make sure that everybody has one move that is at XP cap. I wanted to make sure that, we didn't have situations where they decided to go into, skills or something and just wind up completely useless in combat.
I mean, I get that, but also literally just pointing it out. First of all, that's a choice that they're making. And second of all, paying for half of a standard action move for free. That's already pretty good. Because, I guess also just trying to think about it in terms of, some other things. This would change starting XP from either 60 to 75 or 60 to 90. At 10 attributes, if it paid for a full standard action move, it would increase your effective XP by 60. and it matters less starting at like 15 attributes on. But those are 2 times where like I'm trying to be kind of cognizant about the amount of XP so it doesn't feel weird, but also I just don't know about literally paying for someone to have a full move for free at any given time. Like a full standard action move.
Alright. We'll go with the signature ability being 15 times the attribute scale.
Well, just real quick, Viv, do you got any input on this?
I think Viv AFK'd.
Oh, okay.
Also, now that I think about it, it's always better to start lower and increase it because people like buffs. They don't like when you take something away.
Yeah, that was another thing I was actually about to bring up. Another reason is because we could start out with it being lower and raise it later easier than doing the opposite.
Alright, we'll start with this and see how things feel. Alright, well, there is that taken care of. We got about 15 minutes left. There's another discussion point that I wanted to go over real quick. Sizes. I think we should really put sizes in. It's a relatively minor thing, but, you know, first point on this is, do we want sizes to actually matter when it comes to combat, like they do in a lot of other systems? You know, if they're bigger than you, they're easier to hit. If they're smaller, they're harder.
So there's 2 things. First of all, we could implement this and like there would be like some pretty easy mechanical things we could put in there. But the other thing that I'll want to consider is the whole thing we have about the creative equality.
While that is a very fair, like, that is one thing that I want it to be, you know, creatively equal. However, we do have some systems that we have to consider on this front of, like, for example, the telekinesis. Where being able to actually lift and support somebody is kind of dependent on their size.
I guess the question is how far did you want to take it? Is this going to be a minor thing, or is this going to be more of a major thing?
Well, I didn't really have any real ideas on this yet. The easiest option is simply, you know, the increased difficulty, probably on accuracy.
I have returned.
Welcome back.
Hello.
But like, while there is that consideration of, creative equality, there is also the realism of we're talking Narashi versus Osmond. Narashi being a 10-foot long snake versus 1-foot tall mouse.
I will literally eat him.
Yeah. I guess easy ways that we could implement this is changes to things like your evasion versus your integrity. Like, if you're considered like, size up, you'd probably have less evasion but more integrity. Because I don't want to like impact actual health amounts with this.
No, that'd be hard.
Yeah, that'd be bad. So let's not do that. But base things like, let's say you are considered size large or whatever in comparison to just whatever standard, doesn't matter. Let's say you're considered size large. Like, even just doing things like, oh hey, you have -1 to your physical and special evasion, but you have +1 to your physical and special integrity. That would be an easy way to put things in. There could be other things that we put in, like difficulty to accuracy or bonuses to damage, but I'm kind of wary about starting with that kind of stuff.
I say kiss.
I think the kiss option here would simply be base it on the attacker. Are you medium-sized and attacking a large-sized creature? Cool. Your accuracy has -1 difficulty. Your power has +1 difficulty. Are you equal size? Well, no benefits either way, or penalties.
All right. I will now point out something balance-wise that I immediately see with this. Make a character as large as possible and give them bypass accuracy.
Okay.
They bypass accuracy, so the accuracy malice never comes into play. And they auto-hit have, like, -2 difficulty. Anything trying to hit them is going to be able to do it pretty easily. But also, unless you have a specific kinds of build-ups, okay, and you probably have, like, +2 difficulty to actually dealing damage to them. I'm just pointing out that balance-wise, this is...
Okay, but what's your solution then?
Okay, well, for something like this, the problem is that if it's based off of attacker to defender, and there are ways of utilizing the system just using standard things, not even trying to be jank as hell with things. Just pretty standard things. It's very easy to just make it so that way none of the negatives matter and you get all of the benefits, pretty much. With this kind of thing. Besides that, I guess I still would prefer if it was more based off of, like, getting, like, some passive stat exchange. Because, like I said, like, if we just have it affect... If we just have it affect things like your physical and special evasion versus your physical and special integrity, that's that would implement at least some parity without just letting people do broken shit.
Alright, we can go with that then. I'm thinking that small and medium are just going to be baseline. I think that we'll just have those be equivalent to each other, but then it matters when you get into... We're probably not going to have tiny and diminutive, just tiny. And then that one would have bonus to evasion and penalty to integrity. And then otherwise, large and up will be, you know, penalty to evasion that grows and bonus to integrity. The only issue I have with that is if you are in the same size category, but I can see how it would still make sense even in the same size category.
Yeah. Because honestly, like, even in the same size category, if it's like diminutive versus, or tiny versus tiny, you know, it's probably going to be, like, you know, they're going to care more about evasion because things that are tiny generally aren't, like, tanky, generally. And if you're having a kaiju battle, like, do you really fucking care about your evasion scores versus your integrity if you're in the middle of a kaiju battle?
No. I'm gonna be like, oh god, I hope I can hit this harder than it can hit me.
Yeah, so even if it's just leaning into like expectations with that, and it might just be me coping a bit, I think people will generally care about it in terms of the stats that they're focusing on anyway. But that might just be me coping. I might just have a lot of copium right now.
Alright, so I'll make notes here, and I think we're good.
Yeah, because honestly, even doing something like giving them a +1, it might seem +/-1, based on size category. It might seem a little bit like lackluster to start with, but consider that is a 10% swing in either direction for the baseline unmodified max level character.
Honestly, in my opinion, it's just easier to figure out other than stopping combat every time to compare size categories to.
Alright, so yeah, we'll do that route. I mean, I guess I should actually put this up for discussion. Do we want small and medium to be equal, or do we want those to medium only to be the baseline, and then small creatures get the bonus to evasion but minus to integrity?
It depends on how many options we're going to have available for the players and how we want it to, or where we want the scale to be.
Yep. We could also just put it up to them. Like, for example, we have, like, large and tiny. We could have it so that way medium could either be neutral or take on the properties of large in terms of, like, you know, the stat change. Or, like, you know, the small could be neutral and take on the you know, stat changes for tiny. We could do something like that. Just have it be up to them if they care or not.
You know, yeah, we'll put it to... Yeah, we'll put it up to the storyteller. We can just say, alright, pick a small or medium to be the baseline, and then it changes based on that. Because, like, a lot of Pokemon tend to start in the small category.
Yeah, and then they get the big, usually.
Yeah. And then the storyteller can also always just update it as the campaign progresses, where Okay, everybody's evolved and you're all medium-sized, well now medium is the baseline.
Yeah, it could just be up to fucking whatever. I guess the term we could use is if you're considered undersized or oversized.
I like that.
And then also if, like, you know, you get into, like, a situation where, like, you know, let's say it's, like, you know, a fucking kaiju battle, you get to keep your thing just because people might want to. But, you know, like, situation, yada, yada, yada. But probably oversized and undersized is the best way to do it, so that way it makes it clear, like, it's not exactly about the size that you are, it's about the size you are compared to the standard of whatever the current standard is.
Alright. Well, I think we're good here. I'll figure out wording when I actually go to write it. But
Yep, that's fair.
thank you, everybody, for joining us today for the stream, for the DevTales session, as well as this Art Marten stream. Check out our website, zgfgaming.com. We've got links for our Discord, Telegram, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Patreon, and more. They're on the website as well as down in the description below through our link tree. Thank you to my patrons, tippers, and subscribers. It is your support that keeps this channel alive and going. I cannot do this without your guys' help and your support, so thank you. Consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/zgfgaming. It's one of the best ways to support the channel and everything that we've got going on here, but you can also do so by tipping to the channel directly, sending a treat through TreatStream, or picking up some merch over at zgfgaming.store. And of course, don't forget that we do have artists that I manage for that you can commission. Their details are at zgf.art. But for now, thank you so much for joining, and I bid you the most fondest adieu.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.